All right, we are building, and I am going to go ahead and get started by welcoming everybody to another Sports Influencer Roundtable session. Today is this day, whatever day that is. Just excited to be here, be well, and still trying to make a difference in the world. So without further ado, I'm going to bring out the founder of the Heads Up Foundation and the sports influencer himself, Coach Jabari Johnson.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Hey, Christy, good to see you today.
Hey, good to be seen. How's it going?
Oh, it's going. We're staying out of the way of this coronavirus and sheltering in place. I think we are at week number 4 officially. And so it's been a struggle, but hey, you got to do what you got to do to get back to normal around here. So we're doing well. This is broadcast number 20 since March 31st. So we've been pretty busy. We've had college coaches on pretty much every time, former players and coaches and fans and you name it. We pretty much had them a part of this broadcast. So I'm super excited about today's segment.
Oh my gosh.
Man, I haven't been this excited in a long time. We have, but I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead. I was about to jump in and kind of give a preview of what we were, why this is so exciting.
Yes, go ahead. I'll let you do the honors.
Yeah, because see, when everybody jumps in, I'm jumping, just gonna sit back and watch the whole show go, and everybody can just enjoy my expressions and whatnot. So apparently 25 years ago, at the state championship in basketball, Carter High School met San Antonio East Central, and some stuff really went down. And we are excited to have some key figures in that moment in history that has never been discussed publicly like this in a roundtable session. So this is going to be exciting. We've got former Carter basketball head coach Rob Wright is joining us. We've also got former 1995 state finalists Ty Ellis and Brandon Sharp are joining us. And then Concordia University head coach Stan Bonewitz, who apparently took Carter down. Sounds like single-handedly, so I can't wait to hear all of the wonderful details. I hope he found his ring. I don't know I don't know what's in store today. So this will be exciting.
He won't come on the show with his ring. Surely he won't. Surely he won't do that.
So let's go ahead and get right to it, guys. Come on out. Hey, Coach Bonewitz. Hey, Ty.
How you doing?
Coach Wright.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Hey, what's going on?
Great to be on.
What's up, guys? Good to see y'all. We got Coach Stan Bonewitz, Coach Rob Wright, Coach Ty Ellis, and Coach Brandon Sharp, all on the broadcast with us today.
This is unprecedented. So this is exciting. This is really exciting. And I know the people are going to really enjoy this. So let's all time travel right now and go back to 1995. Tell me all about it. I missed it.
Well, it started. I came across a friend of mine, buddy of mine, sent me the state championship game, a couple of days ago, and I hadn't seen it since we lost. And so I think a couple of these guys have seen it since I've seen it, but that was my first time. So I glanced at it and looked at it and was like watching it all over again and just got reinvigorated all over. So the next day I called these guys up and was like, hey, man, and we're talking about the game like it's yesterday pretty much. So come to find out, we realized this was 25 years ago. And there's really been no real dialogue about the game itself and what happened and some of the fun moments and not so fun moments other than privately amongst former teammates. So, I tell people all the time, I say, I know Stan very well from the recruiting trail, and he's always here recruiting and in the gyms. And every time I see him, I tell him how infamous he is in Oak Cliff 25 years later, just because of what he did to us, man. But that was one of the most remarkable games that we've been a part of as high school players. And I want to bring some of these guys out to just kind of talk about that for a moment. we got Coach Wright. That was his first year as a head coach, and just to even get to that point was remarkable in itself. And then we got Stan one game away from Coach getting a state title in his first year, and God takes it away from him single-handedly almost. Nothing against those other guys because they were really good. They actually had a good team that year. Those guys were 35-0 for a reason. So, but we always talk about how Stan did us in, man. Stan the man, as I call it. Stan, talk a little bit about how that moment's feel, man. What's your fondest moment of that game? Fondest memory?
It was such a weird night, man. I remember seeing you guys play the day before. Y'all beat Clear Lake, I believe. And I remember thinking, crap, man, this ain't going to be easy because you had your guards pestering the crap out of Clear Lake, turning them over, Lily and Kirby and all those guys taking it from them. And I knew you had, Anthony Good and just a bunch of guys, and then I knew Coach Wright from the previous summer. He had coached me at a Nike event. And so I had some history with him. And I knew it was going to be a challenge just because I knew kind of how we played and how you played. I was confident, but I definitely wasn't overconfident. I knew that we were going to have to be on point. I knew it was going to take secondary guys helping that night because we had more, and when I say that, like as far as handling the ball and doing that against you guys' pressure, because I wasn't going to be able to do it by myself. And fortunately, guys stepped up and we kind of, it was a game that was back and forth. We got y'all beat us up in the first half on the glass, especially. And I know Jesse was hurt, and that obviously played a huge role in it. I mean, I'm smart enough to know that if you got a defensive lineman from Florida State not in the game, that changes things. Especially when your biggest guy for us is 6'3". Like, I'm not a dummy. Like, I know that without a doubt that changes some of the landscape of it, and it changes what y'all are doing and changes how we are able to attack you or y'all attack us. So that was a big piece for sure. And it was just one of those games, man, it's back and forth. I just remember the fourth quarter going on that run, and I remember we got a couple buckets, man. We got a couple steals, and then I remember hitting a shot in the corner that kind of I felt like it iced it. It was a three that put us up maybe 16 or 18. But honestly, man, I didn't feel good till there was about a minute left, and I felt like, okay, I think we're all right, because I knew how explosive and deep you guys were, and I knew the way we played with Preston. That, man, the game's we're never out of a game, but we've also never sealed a game because buckets come fast. And so it wasn't until that last minute where I started to feel good. And even now, I mean, we talk about it, but in the moment, it's so surreal. Like we were talking before we came on the air, there was, you don't remember it as a teenager, but I feel like the Urban Center was packed. I feel like it was electric. I feel like the atmosphere was hyped up. I remember being on TV, all the pressure with that. And so you're so caught up in that, you don't even realize kind of what's going on until you're able years later to step away and look back and kind of reflect and enjoy it a little more. In the moment, there was so much stress and so much pressure, you really couldn't enjoy it until the thing was done.
Coach Wright, how about you? What's your fondest memory of that game? I know you got plenty.
Oh, well, the recap, I got plenty. I mean, even in the loss, I was happy to be there. I was happy for the kids. I was happy for the community. But I had already knew, like Stan said earlier, I knew Stan because he was out in we took a team from Texas out to Indianapolis for the Nike. It's prior to them having the EYBL. I think this was the start of EYBL. And Stan was out there with me. So Stan got a chance. He had to play against Iverson, Kevin Garnett, Ray LaFrance. He had to play against all those guys out there. And he left halfway through this. I guess we had a couple of games, and he had to go back to San Antonio. But I already knew how he could play, and I had kept an eye on him because I chose that team. I handpicked that team, and I picked him for a reason. And lo and behold, I didn't know he was going to be able to play against him, when we got to that point. But the fondest game, the fondest memories of the game is just how we played. We were that's my first year. We were going to play fast. We were going to be exciting. We were going to make history. We were going to make our history, but we always made other people's history. It was never a night where somebody didn't do something special to us. So Stan just capped it off with that 40 points performance. He was Stan that night. He was wonderful. We did everything we could to slow him down. I mean, we tried to take the other guys out of it. hit shots. We knew when we lost Jesse, it was going to be a little problem because he basically was our rebounder. He averaged 15 rebounds a game. So we knew we were going to have 15 to 20 more possessions with him grabbing those rebounds and getting the ball to us. And then he would give us about 8 points a game inside. But we just kept playing. We didn't even look back. If you look at the game, we never looked to me. When we make mistakes, we kept playing. We turned the ball over. We kept the pressure on. They hit shots. We took the ball out quick. The ball really never touched the floor that much. It was going everywhere. It was an exciting game. It was like a college atmosphere. I know when I checked it later on, they said it was 16,200 particular night.
Wow.
Sold out. But I know every time Stan hit shots, that it was such a magnificent sound system in there was unbelievable. It's like, never forget the sound. It's like, Jesus, everybody's against us. But we kept coming and we tried to calm the crowd down. But it was in San Antonio. They had them. We had our people from Oak Cliff there too. I mean, we had enough, but it was a great time. We had fun. I'm looking at it now, yeah, we turned the ball over a lot. We did a lot of things, but I mean, that's like 25 years ago.
Yeah.
That's basketball you play. If you're going to play fast, you're going to have to live and die.
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
And we played like that all year, literally. So, I mean, you're not going to change now in the championship game. So,
not at all. Not at all.
Yeah. I'm going to turn it over to the guy who hit the biggest shot, probably, well, let me not say the biggest, one of the biggest shots in Carter history, which was the three-point shot that sent us to the state tournament. Ty Ellis, who's now Ty is now the head coach in the NBA with the Stockton Kings G League team. So brought Ty on. Ty, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing good, man.
Good to see you, brother. Good to see you. Tell us a little bit about your fondest memory of the state championship game.
Man, I really, regarding the game, I don't have any, like, my fondest memory of the game per se, because I mean, it was a game and I was locked in and I was focused and just ready to come in and help out in a way that I can. Like Coach Rice said, I knew we was not going to be in trouble, but Jesse was a beast in high school. Like, I remember us playing against Brian Adams and Jesse's just destroying Kenyon. Like, Jesse just had a physical presence about him, 6'5", 6'6", with an unbelievable vert, and he blocked shots, he rebounded, and I was worried about that. But on the flip side, like, I looked at Anthony like Superman. Like, I just thought Anthony was the best point guard in Texas, and Anthony just saved us so many times that season. Anthony just being great. So I wasn't worried about the game, but the funnest memory I have is the bus trip up there. And man, I remember we was playing that song. Ain't no stopping. Yeah. Man, I remember that, man. We had so much fun doing that playoff run, and I was the president of the bench mob. And so, the bench mob, man, we would meet separately in the corner and so, all right, man, the bench mob, we got to be ready. And I was assigned president because I was the bench guy that played the most. And so I was gladly I took that position with pride. But yeah, man, just how we got close during that time, how close the community rallied behind us, and when we left, we had a big send off and all that type of stuff. So that was my fondest memory, man, of that particular season. And it's crazy, like, we had a better team that following year. And I tell people all the time, man, we were way better that following year. But there's a good friend of mine named Derek Dockery. He went to I think Garland, but he played in the NFL for many years, went to Texas. And he would tell me stories of how we were, like, they heard about us all over Dallas, and those predominantly white schools were so afraid of us. Like, they were so afraid to play us in Dallas, man. And like, he was like, man, we didn't want to play y'all. And they would see us playing in Dr. Pepper or against Kimball or something. and they looked at us like, I won't say superstars, but like when you wearing your Letterman jacket around Dallas with that C on it, man, it meant something. So those are my fondest memories of that particular run.
Wow. Ain't no stopping us now, huh?
Yeah, man.
Yes, sir.
You remember that one. Be
Yes.
Sharp. Brandon Sharp is on with us. Brandon is a 4-year Letterman varsity player. He was a part of that as a sophomore as well. Brandon, talk a little bit about your fondest memory of that game.
Yeah, being a sophomore on a historic Carter team, it was just really a historic ride for us. And just during the whole year, it was just a lot of fun. We pressed. I think we averaged maybe like 90 to 100 points a game that year. Man, we were almost pretty much unstoppable until we got to state. Until we got to state. What game was that? Was that I think it was we played Clear Lake, where they actually slowed us down and kept us, from running, because they ran a slow offense. The problem with that, but we ended up pulling away from it. But it was fun all the way around for me, being a sophomore, being able to get minutes on the court. I was telling Jabari earlier today about the game. We were talking about the game. I'm like, dude, I haven't seen that game like 20 times. My parents recorded it, so so seeing my name up, at the halftime, being one of the halftime scorers, and I was like, man, I was all right. But it was just exciting all the way around, man. I love that team. I know Tyrone, you just said that 97 team was probably, better talent-wise, but that 95 team was camaraderie-wise, as far as brotherhood, love of God on that team, man, was, we were even superstitious, Coach. Remember, we had the same bus driver.
Same bus driver.
We had to listen to the same music. We were doing everything the same way every road trip during that playoff period. So it was all memorable for me.
Stan, you played for your dad. Talk a little bit about that experience and what it felt like to not only play for him, but to win a state championship with him.
It was tough, like early on. And Coach Wright, I believe you coach your son, and like it's tough because early on, if you're up with the varsity, it's you get the community message of it's because of your pops, and you fight that as a teenager. You're kind of going through those emotions of trying to prove yourself to your opponents, but also to people that you think are whispering. So you go through some of that, and my dad was tough, man. He was a perfectionist in some way, and so he watched everything we did, every shot I took. There was a lot of intensity, a lot of passion. He was great about leaving it at the school. We didn't really bring it home too much, but at school and in the gym, it was there for sure. And to be able, I think for me, growing up watching the guys that came before me, being on the bench, just dreaming one day, hoping to be one of those guys that could actually play in a varsity game and to be able to compete at the varsity level, to be able to kind of go through the years and watch him begin it, in like the early 80s, and then to kind of be able to be the one to help him, finish it off or put an exclamation point on it as a player. It's pretty special. It's hard to explain. It's something, you put work in every day, as everybody on here knows, to try to become the best player you can be. So when you're done, you have no regrets. And that's something he taught me. And it's something that we went through, and to go through that and to get through all the work and all the wins and losses and everything, and to be able to cap it off the way we did, it was special. There's no question. Again, there was a lot of, it's tough playing for your dad because it's hard. I wasn't probably mature enough to separate the two. You got to have a certain level of emotional maturity to be able to separate dad from coach. I wasn't very good at that. And so, there's a lot of things I didn't do right. but I feel like to be able to work through a lot of it and to be able to celebrate it the way we did was pretty special.
Coach Wright, you actually had a chance to coach your family member. Now, I would say this: Coach Wright treated us all like his son, so you you never would have told the difference. But you still had a chance to coach your nephew and Anthony. Talk a little bit about that experience and how that was for you.
Oh, it was. I took it as the same way. I always said that to them, that no matter what we do, you're still part of a team. I treated them, like you said, the same way as I treated everybody else. Sent them to camps, sent them to different other places to play. I always wanted to be something different, whereas don't put that much pressure on them. Just go out and teach them and treat them the same way everybody else is, and basically make sure they got the fundamentals and just go out and then watch them play. But it was times where I was a little bit hard on Anthony and on Cordell, because for the simple fact they had the ball in their hand. And when you have the ball in your hand, you got to think like me. You got to almost be a part of me. And, of course, it's such an age difference in the way we played basketball in the 70s and 80s versus the way you guys played in the 90s and the 2000s. So, it was the same way. I'm just grateful that everybody from Stan's group to our group went on, and look where everybody's at now. I mean, there's a story behind every one of you guys that played on those teams. Especially with Jeremy Manze. You go to a movie and he's walking beside Denzel Washington, coaching in the NBA. Rob and Anthony, they're doing professional things out. Jesse played professional football. I mean, you can go down the line. I'm sure Stan has a bunch of guys on his team that he could talk about, but the Cinderella story out of that is that everybody from those teams went on to college, on and did something productive, and they all of you guys are great at what you're doing, and probably more than I can say.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Brandon Sharp.
What's up?
As a guy, hold on, and Coach, I'm gonna put you on the spot real quick. And that Carter Cowboy community, y'all asked for this, so I'm gonna give it to you. Coach Wright.
Yeah.
The two teams at stake in your team. In your opinion, if they had to line up against one another, who wins that game?
95.
Okay.
Easy.
95.
I had to say 90. I mean, I told y'all before, I've been on all the teams, man. I've been on all of them. I was a 4-year. So I remember 96, 97. Love y'all, man. Y'all were great teams. It was fun. But that 95 group, man, was just special.
Now, wait a minute, B-Show. We was comparing 95 and 05, not 95 and 96 and 97.
Oh, my bad.
Conversation.
My bad. But 95
was great that we had good teams. We had good teams all them years, man. That's
all them years.
Listen, what they're doing now in high school, we didn't. And I tell people right now, we didn't recruit. Every kid that came out of Carter was homegrown. Woodtown, Camp Wisdom, I don't care. Lamar came in, he might be the only one, but he came the right way. Their family moved over there. He came in the 9th grade. He wasn't recruited, and we were ranked after the 95 class left. You put Carter on the map. For the next 2 years, we were ranked in the country like number 6 one year, and then I think number 12. We got a chance to play with Tracy McGrady. We traveled everywhere. We did everything. So they set the standard for basketball, I think, in Dallas, because Kimball got good at that. And then they took us down twice at what we do. So we did something from that 95 game. And like he said, Stan, you big time in Dallas, Stanley. You big time in the hearts of Dallas, because
for real, man, for real.
When people ask me, and I did this about a couple of weeks ago, I put your name in there when they said, name some of the toughest people you ever played against. Put in the guys that are pros, your name went in there. And it was no question.
I appreciate it. Yeah. I think what you touched on too is, the fact that, like you guys, he said, you were a legitimate high school team. There was no recruiting. There was no guys coming in. I think the same thing for us. That's what was kind of that we were who we were, man. We went to elementary, middle school, high school. We were all homegrown Southeast San Antonio dudes that had been playing together and been around each other. And so there was no picking apart. I'm going to get this guy from here. There was none of that stuff going on, man. It was just, and if we were recruiting, man, look at our team. We only played 7 guys. We weren't very good recruiters. You know, we had nobody over 6'3", and we were 7 deep, 8 deep. Like my dad wasn't a very good recruiter.
Okay, Stan, here's the debate. Here's the big question, Stan.
Yeah.
Because I remember halftime, we were winning. We were up at half.
We were.
What happened in the locker room for y'all from
Man,
the first half to the second half? What happened?
Man, I don't remember in depth. I just remember the big point of emphasis at halftime was we had to rebound better. That's all. I mean, I remember that sticking out as much as anything. Like we need to continue to have multiple guys handle against y'all's pressure. We need to try to continue to press. But more than anything, I felt like the first half, y'all just kicked us on the glass. And it was like, if we didn't change that, we were going to be in trouble. And that's where we talk about, obviously, with Jesse being out, that again, is why that changes some of the dynamic of that game. But I remember more than anything, we came in at halftime. First of all, I remember the adrenaline wore off. I remember being so amped up. And in the first half, you wouldn't know it, but there was a sequence where I went behind my back and threw a pass. It got stolen. Y'all went down, turned it over. We came back, and they threw it to me in the corner, and I hit a 3. But I had 0 legs. Like I had that shot, I had no clue if that shot was good. Like it looked confident and it looked like it was supposed to go in, but I was so tired from the anxiety and just the buildup that I remember shooting that shot and it was like a blur. And that's kind of how the first half was. It was all just kind of a blur. And I think again we talked about rebounding. And I think we just kind of settled down and we just made. I mean, in the second half we just made some shots. I mean, more than anything, I don't think there was anything special that we did. I think my dad would tell you all year we kind of like y'all. We were who we were. We were going to press. We were going to do multiple ways of pressing, and hopefully we made enough shots. In the second half, we kind of some shots that maybe weren't going. We adjusted a little bit. I think on our own to the pressure of your guards, because your guards were as athletic and as fast as anybody we played all year. And so that was something that we had to adjust to as well.
Yeah, because I remember you, dude. You was like, I remember you get tired. I remember watching them huffing. I remember watching you huffing and puffing.
I was exhausted.
Dude, I remember. Like yesterday. And they moved. And I remember because, our press has been killer all year. And I don't know what happened, but you went from breaking the press to being the release on the press. So
right.
That
was something. Yeah, that was just happened, or that was something that we talked about beforehand because we had Chaz Jackson and Dante Mathis, and we had and Curtis Lundy. We had guys who were all kind of versatile guards. It didn't have to just be reliant upon me because I was honestly better as a point distributing early because I wasn't fast. Like I wasn't going to outrace any of the guys. So like I was able, and that got negated a little bit against y'all because we couldn't get it out as early because we had to get through your pressure. So having Chaz and Dante and those guys around to help relieve that pressure was, I think that in the rebound, it was probably the difference in the game and the fact that if we didn't have multiple guys that could handle, we were going to be in trouble because y'all just had too many guys. Y'all had too many guards, too many guys that you could tell wanted to play the way y'all played, like that enjoyed pressing, enjoyed getting in people. And if we wouldn't have had a second and third guy to relieve some pressure, because for 30, I remember the first quarter I was exhausted. To do that for 4 quarters with being a primary ball handler would have been near impossible against you guys.
That's kind of what we always talk about, man. And it was a heck of a coaching move to take, pretty much your best ball handler off the ball in a press. It
may not have been so much by design.
That's what we were wondering. Was that design?
That's a good thought. That's a good thing because I had a question came to me about a month ago about small guards, and I say you got to have them. A lot of people like lengthy guards, and then someone reminded me, well, remember Stan just looked over your guards and he just shot over them. I said, well, that's true. But I said at the end of the day, I would still, to this day, I like small guards too. I will keep them where I'm at, So that's a good thing. People don't understand how tall you were, and they thought you were little. No, he was far from little. You and Rob were probably about the same height. And I think Rob is about 6'4", 6'5". I think y'all about the same height. And he was after Jesse left, he was our biggest man on the court, him and Brandon.
Yeah.
You're right, Coach. I'm a big fan of small guards.
Mm-hmm.
Real big fan of them. They've been small their entire life. You know, I coached Tyler Eulis in Phoenix, and this dude is 5 foot, I don't know, 6 or 7. But it doesn't matter, man, because nobody plays defense one-on-one. It's a collective effort anyway. But now you got that small guard that's able to pick up full. Or you have that small guard that can make those reads and things of that nature. So I'm a big fan of the smaller guards.
Well, I think especially too, Coach, like with how you use your small guards and the fact that you use the pressure in the full court was, I mean, that I remember in college playing against Earl Boykins, and you know, Earl was, I don't know, 5'4", 5'5", and or, you know, tiny. You don't think much of him, but he would use his strength, which was getting in you in the backcourt. And I remember it being a chore just to get the ball across half court. And that's kind of how I felt, man, watching you guys against Clear Lake, because they did try to slow y'all up, but it didn't matter because they didn't have the guard depth. I just remember your guys doing such a great job of pickpocketing those guys. I mean, as soon as they would turn their back or they think they'd have an angle, your guys were so quick with their hands at coming from behind and just making them uncomfortable that I knew that was going to be a challenge for us, man. For me personally, I wasn't excited about it.
Man, so Sylvester Lilly was so good at that, man. And man, when he got the ball on in the break, man, like we just ran. Because Sylvester is going to make the right play, and he dribbles the ball so well, man. He was so quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you had to be really tight with your handle. I remember that. You had to be really tight against him because anything that was loose or anything where you lost any kind of edge, he was going to take it.
Yeah.
Not to mention that guy on the backside was coming because we wanted to turn you.
Yeah.
So you that thing.
Yeah.
That guy better be coming. What else?
No, that's true. We were so good on angles. Like you guys do the other work, they were going to fill in spots. So it wasn't like a hully-gully press. People knew what they were doing, but a lot of that was their effort too. I'm not going to take all the coaching credit. A lot of that was those guys playing with each other for years, loving the game. I mean, Stan, we used to have fist fights in that back gym. Anthony.
Coach, we live, Coach. We live.
That's okay. That's okay. They need to know it wasn't easy in that gym.
Yep.
Practice in a small gym. We didn't practice in a regular size gym. We was, and if you couldn't handle the ball in there or shoot, and you wasn't fast, practices was tough back then. So we had a lot of training before we got to the big time.
Yes, sir.
So do you guys think? Speaking of, we talked about this the other day. Shot clocks in high school basketball. Pro or con? You're for or against it, Stan?
I think I'm for it. I've heard a lot of different sides to it. I've heard high school coaches that are for, that are against. I just think for, you know, me personally, we've hosted every year. We host a classic at our school with high school teams to come out. We actually have used the shot clock the last 2 years with it, and I just think it speeds the game up. It makes you a better decision maker. It makes you as a coach think about the game and look at the game differently. And I think it preps guys for that next level. I mean, I think it helps in the preparation piece. I think it just it makes you I remember going from high school to college, that being a big adjustment. And then when I went and worked out with the Rockets, being an even bigger adjustment with that shot clock, you know, just learning different strategies with it, different times when to attack and just how to use it. I just think it makes you a smarter player. I think it makes you use some cognitive skills that maybe you haven't used. And I understand the argument of the advantage, disadvantage that it can create for some teams in some games, but I think the overall quality of the game would be enhanced with it.
Coach?
No, I'm for it. Maybe if they would experiment since maybe some smaller classifications might not want it, maybe start at the top.
Yeah.
Two-folded way. Coaching AAU in the summer and playing in national tournaments, and you're playing with a shot clock, and then you come back in Texas and you're still playing and coaching in that fashion. You're still fast and your mind is thinking quickly. And that's how I grew up in New York City playing without a shot clock, but we played hard and fast and we had to make decisions quickly. So that's how I coach. I'm just an aggressive person. how I coach. I think I'm swift enough to catch quick things, and sometimes I'm not. But I like the fast pace because eventually, when you get to college, and as I coached on the college level too, and I see what the problem was, a lot of the kids' fundamentals, if there wasn't there, they wasn't very fast at making decisions. And speaking about college, Stan couldn't get away from me because he went to Tech and then went coach at Texas. And so, from high school the year before, championship, and Jesus Christ, then I go to Texas and he's playing against me at Texas Tech. So,
and you got me back too at the Urban Center, man.
Yeah, we just got you. That's only one.
You evened it up.
Yeah. But no, I'm hoping that they put it in, not because they embarrass anybody, but I just think it just needs to be. I mean, if you're going to college and you're playing with a shot clock, and if your dream is to play professional, you need to be prepared for that. You really do.
Coach Ellis, how about you? You got some thoughts? I know you so high up at that higher level that you kind of removed from the grassroots high school scene. But what are your thoughts on shot clocks?
Man, I think they should. We should prepare these young men to play in college. That's what it boils down to. And the teams who would get embarrassed or what have you, it'll force those teams to get better. But to have a huge drop off from high school to college, and we as administrators or the adults can fix that, why not? Why not? Because otherwise these kids go to these colleges and get recruited over, or their college experience won't be the best.
Coach Sharp, how about you?
Well, I coach school, so I'm on the other side of the spectrum when it comes to shot clock, because there is so much fundamentals going on at that age that has to be put in there, and a shot clock would take away from that. Now, that being said, especially what the shot clock does, it speeds up the offensive game. So that takes that makes, to me, especially middle school players or the players that, the 11, 12-year-olds, they have to learn how to play that man-to-man defense. And that's not being stressed enough in middle school. Lots of middle school programs are relying on strictly zone. That's all they play is on 3-2 or 2-3. So that fundamental part of really teaching man-to-man, team defense, chain defense, is being lost at the middle school level. So I'm kind of iffy, but I'm still more on, now not yet. Like Coach Wright said, maybe at the higher levels, yeah, go that shot clock in. But in the middle school or the lower levels, the fundamentals still need to be taught.
So I wanted to go back.
And I'll say this: I played in games where a team would sit in a zone, and I'm up 20 points. What kind of sense is that? We went into the zone. So why do I need a shot clock to make me shoot? No, y'all need to come out and play defense. That's how I feel about it.
Well, they're not going to put it in at the middle school level.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But, even in middle school, even in high school, if I'm up 20 points and you're only relying on playing a zone, why pressure me to take a shot and I'm up 20? Why should I have something to push me to shoot when I'm, it doesn't make sense for me to take a bad shot. So that's kind of how I fall on the shot clock deal.
Well, I want to piggyback off of that as I tiptoe back into the conversation. I knew how to step back and let y'all have your moment, your nostalgic moment. I'm curious because I've never talked to everybody like this. Being who you are, and you all played together, you coached these players, you were an opponent, Coach Bonewitz. So, having everybody here, and you're all involved in basketball at the next, at some level today. I'm curious, this is a very broad question, but can you speak on your thoughts about, just how the game has changed since you were playing in high school? We cover lots of high school basketball and beyond, but high school being the most concentrated area. So either speak on those changes. What is the one thing that stands out the most to you, or what's something you miss that you wish that they did more of today, and in order to better prepare?
Too many guys. I'm gonna start.
Who gonna start this one now?
I start that one off by saying there's too many guys that got to get better. They need a trainer to get better, as opposed to going out and just working on your game on your own. I think when we were coming up, we never had the trainers. It was just all getting in the gym and working on your game. I see so many kids now, if they're not doing a training session with a trainer, they're not doing any work. So I think that's one of the biggest difference. And also, there are so many more AAU teams nowadays than there were in our day. And I think that we need to go back to streamlining that process and kind of having a little more of a structured process when it comes to putting these AAU teams out here, because, you just got thousands of teams on every corner. Well, those guys are sacrificing that development that we talk about for just playing games. So I think that's two of the biggest differences on my end that I see.
I want to take a quick pause. Coach Ty, thank you so much. I know you have to go because you've got the next level business to take care of. So we want to thank you for being with us. We're going to continue the conversation.
Thank you, Coach.
Absolutely, man. Thank y'all very much. And we have to do it again, man.
Yeah,
do it again. Good luck to y'all, man. Be safe.
Absolutely, bro.
See you soon.
Absolutely.
All right,
take care. Okay, so that AAU topic comes up all the time. We're going to have to do a few shows just on AAU.
Yeah, really.
So who else has something to share?
I forgot.
Well, I think. Go ahead.
You forgot the question?
Yeah, what was the question? I forgot.
Well, it's kind of broad.
I thought about 95 all over again, and it left.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what the question is, really, in reflection. And because, again, all of you, how you all are connected, everybody on this platform today, and thinking back in the mid 90s, and when you were playing high school basketball, what are some of the things that you notice now that stand out more than anything? I mean, it's a broad question. You can tackle it from any angle. Or what's something you wish that they would go back to or implement today that worked well then, but you see some things just not quite right now? I mean, just the differences over time and how the game has changed.
I mean, from my point of view, like I'm really on the fun end of it. So I see just a lot of riffraff. So when it comes to kids being developed, those things that are not in place at especially the middle school, the elementary level, to where kids are not being developed, and it takes that personal trainer or somebody that that knows the game and that can, not just somebody uncle cousin that want to start an AAU team because his uncle or his nephew that plays on the basketball team and he wants them to play. That along with the actual really good training grounds, like when we were coming up. I mean, the YMCA was big. Training, everything we learned, we go to the YMCA court. We'll go to Coach Wright was real big with Slam and Jam and all of the stuff going on around the Metroplex, where we would see talent from all around the place come in, and we're playing against guys pretty much all day. But it always started with something fundamental and ended with something fundamental. So that, I mean, and mental toughness from our athletes today is something that's really, I've seen some talented kids. I'm talking about talented 11, 12-year-olds. It's like, man, you got what it takes to make it to the next level, but your mental toughness is going to keep you from getting it, from getting there. Kids that were unstoppable to me are, man kids in middle school don't make it in high school. So there's just a lot of distractions from these kids getting the mental toughness, the fundamentals that they need that we got. It was nothing for me and Jabari And we Ben Jabbar played together ever since we were, knee high to a butterfly. So we had fights. We don't push each other down, picked each other up. So, and we still friends to this day. I don't think that same camaraderie is there with a lot of the kids now. That mental toughness. It's about making you better. Even from middle school, I knew Jabbar was trying to make me better, and I think Jabbar knew I was trying to make him better. Now it's just, hey, who can I outdo? One little crossover, ooh, and the kids are all falling out. We didn't do nothing.
Oh man, if you and Stan if Baller's Life was around when y'all played, y'all would have wanted to be on there too.
No question.
It's a different. No, I think it's a different breed going on now. It's different. Coach Bonewitz, how about you?
Yeah, I think like. I haven't always been an adult, so like revisionist history is what it is. And I feel like, we probably during our era had things that people in the 80s said we wish we would do differently that they used to do in the 80s, and we're doing it. I think every era comes to this like modern, there's some give and take. I think the players today are so much more physically talented in a lot of ways. I mean, the game has evolved. It's like with everything, right? Evolution, like everybody evolves. We're able to sit here and have a Zoom conversation. We can't leave the house, and we're connecting with each other. So, like, society evolves, and I think the games evolve. You watch it, even watching the NBA, the spacing and how the game's played and the plays players are making are so much more. Like, the stuff they do on a consistent basis in the 80s or 90s would have been highlight reel stuff. So, like, the physical part is so much greater now than it was, which is good, which is what it should be, like it's how it should evolve. But I think there's what y'all talked about as far as like the focus, I think is shifted. And I think there should be it's 5 o'clock. A little more of a balance maybe. I think the AAU piece is great. But I think we never would have thought, and I don't think this is necessarily everybody in the state, but you hear it more now than I think you would have heard it during our era. Like, we didn't play high school to get ready for AAU or to get ready for the summer. You trained for the summer to get ready for high school. And I think that has probably been one of the more maybe disappointing shifts or results of this, because I don't think that's necessarily the intention of all the summer coaches. I think obviously the summer coaches have good intentions. I think like with everything, you have people that abuse it and take advantage of situations. But I think it's that focus, it's that camaraderie, and a lot of it is what they watch. I mean, we grew up watching Michael Jordan and Larry Bird and those guys, the fist fighting and killing each other, and Magic and Bird, we knew never talked to each other until they shot that commercial for Converse after being in the league 6 years. And you loved that. Like, you grew up like wanting rivalry and now you see guys and they're such good friends, and that kind of has trickled down to where that's what you think as a high school player. You're not really supposed to be that guy's rival because you're probably playing somewhere together in the summer, and you're probably boys and you're connected, which is, again, on one hand, isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it also loses a little bit of what you're talking about, that pride in Carter, that pride in East Central. And like I spent my entire time training to get ready for the season and to get ready to put on that gold and black uniform. And again, I think I don't want to say that's everywhere in the state, because I know there's programs where that's not the case, but I think it's more pervasive now than it was then. And I think it's taken away a little bit of the pageantry of high school basketball. I think so much of it has been shifted the other way, and there's so many reasons why. That could be a whole broadcast as to the good and bad with that. And so I don't want to, and I don't know it all, so I'm not going to try and layer it all. But I just think, and I think that the lack of we talked about the mental toughness. I think so much of that comes from the ability to create games on your own, going to open gyms, playing in back gyms, having those situations where you're going with your guys. And we were going to drive across town in high school to go play at an open gym here, and we were going to take our 5 and play their 5, and other schools would meet up. And it wasn't so much coach-led or parent-led. And I think that's part of it too, is so much these days is parent-led, that it's on one hand it's good, but the negative is it's taking away some of the players' abilities to figure out problems and to work through problems and to problem solve and to know how to handle failure. And some of those things that I think create that a little bit of a mental toughness that isn't maybe what it was in previous eras. But overall, I mean, I think the physical ability of players is no question at a higher level. I watch all the time these teams in the summer, and I'm thinking, man, I don't know if I could have played with this guy or this guy. Or like, damn, this guy's 6'5", 6'6", doing what I was doing. Like, I would have had a hard time getting my shot off against that guy. Like, so you kind of keep it in perspective, but there's definitely some of that. I just kind of wish there was a little more pageantry about what was going on with your high school programs and celebrating that maybe a little bit more.
Wow.
Good.
Right.
Coach Wright?
Yeah, well, it's twofolded because we basically started AAU in Dallas, myself and a couple of guys and high school coaches. So we started AAU back in '86. So Larry Johnson and that group and Derek Daniels, that was the first group we took to Vegas. So we the way it started is that UIL wouldn't let us play more than 20 games in the summer. So we had a league. So all the best players came from Dallas-Fort Worth, and we played here in Dallas. We played up in Pleasant Grove. We played down at Joe. Oh Jesus, what's the gym in South Dallas? Where Lincoln plays and Madison plays.
Yeah, I remember
Parkside, X-Line.
Yeah, we played in quite a few gyms, and the biggest thing that I see right now is just so many people. They want to have a tag on them. I mean, I don't know how you say somebody is a pro when you just look at them. If you haven't coached a pro, you haven't been in a pro's footsteps, you might have one that you've seen or you've coached, and there's too many people trying to put that on. I put this many people in college. I put this many people in the pros, and they're not focusing on the team. Because right now I'm looking at high school teams, and the reason why high school teams, in my opinion, they're okay. They keep saying these teams are good, but I don't see a full team. I see maybe one or two. I don't see a full team on a lot of these schools. You know, you can take it or leave it every way you want. I mean, I have the right to say that because I've seen and I've been. My opinion is like camps are missing. We don't have camps anymore. Guys are having little individual deals, which is nothing wrong with that, but we used to go to 5-Star. We used to go to Easton, Great American Shootout had camps. There was a lot of camps where kids can learn individual things, and they don't have to too much worry about the pressure of winning because you're playing for a shoe company, which, once again, we go back to it. I bought every shoe company that has a label on it to Dallas-Fort Worth. We've had everything. So nothing new excites me about, because you had Nike. Well, we had it too. You had Adidas, we had it too. We had Reebok, we had N1, we had Converse, and when you name it, we had it. But I don't walk around and beat my chest like that. I just shake the trees and look at everybody that's doing it. I just hope that everybody understands that a lot of this is, you get guys that move into Dallas and then they're starting to do things. And the worst part that, and I hate to say this, Jabari, this social media beef going on with the guys that are writing and talking bad about each other, I don't get that. You say how you feel about a kid. Everybody help kids. Put them where you got to go, and let's keep it moving. We all have kids we help. It don't matter what the number is, how many you put in, I put in, who's good, who's not good. It doesn't matter. Just everybody do it, because what you're doing is you're taking away from these kids. I'm hearing so many horror stories. That's why I haven't really messed around back in high school. I just want to stay college, but there's some opportunities coming along, so we'll see what happens in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, a lot of fundamentals, like Brandon said, a lot of camps, just put them all in gym, let them play against each other. You don't have to be on teams. You got to come together and be able to get along with each other. But, I mean, it's a different time and era.
Absolutely. That's crazy. So, Stan, I'll ask you this. I'm going to take some Facebook comments. Kia Lemons asks, how is mental toughness developed in a kid that has great potential? Our kid definitely has some great potential.
I can at least try to answer. I think mental toughness comes from failure. I think putting yourself in position to fail on a consistent basis, and figuring out how to respond to that, and having somebody in your life that directs you on that path and lets you understand that it's okay to fail. Nothing grows without something being torn apart. You know, you got to break it down first. And I think if you don't know that, and you don't accept it, you don't embrace it, and you don't go try to find it, and a lot of it's up to whether it's coaches, parents, whoever, guardians, whoever, to try to guide in that direction and to try to allow for that and try to influence to that. I don't think mental toughness is about scoring points or about highlight plays or hitting on your chest or any of that stuff. I think it's about putting in the grind, putting in the work on your own, and then going out and losing and failing, and then figuring out, okay, I got to fix this, and this. If you don't ever fail, you have no idea what it is to succeed, and so you have to embrace failure. And you gotta, as a coach, I think I gotta embrace that I gotta teach our guys that we gotta embrace it. We gotta run to failure, not from it. And I think so many people now run from it and are so protected that whenever it hits, they just have no idea how to respond. And so they think by playing in games or doing this and that, you're going to build it and talking about it, but you got to actually go through it. You got to go through the process of it, and it can be a longer process for some, but I don't think you can. I don't think it's something that can be talked about. I think it's something you got to physically endure, and hopefully coaches, people can influence the ones around them to figure out what that feels like and to help them cope with it and learn how to get through it.
That's good. That's good. That's rich. It's very rich.
So, Coach Bonewitz, I'm sorry, I want to jump back to you real quickly, just because this is, when we talk to college coaches, the hottest topic, of course, is where we are in this season. I mean, basketball was shut down right along with everything else. And so I want to just real quickly, if you can talk about the things that you've had to change, some of the processes and what you're doing for recruiting and whatnot, looking forward to next season while we're in this crazy season we're in right now.
I think it's been kind of a blessing. It's been I don't say a blessing because you have so many debts. You don't want to put that worrying on it, but like it's been a great opportunity for me to learn a different skill set, And so like we've taken our recruiting and now we've done it all virtual with what we're doing here. And so like we put together basically what we're doing now with guys is we're doing campus visits through Zoom calls. So we have a 50-minute presentation that takes guys on a tour of our campus. You hear from our president, a tour of the city. We have our guys give testimonials. We have highlight videos of our team. We have videos that show their skill. We put their video together. Then we put together a video that shows how we're going to use them in our system. We have a little spiel on the academics. So like we basically thought in my head, me and my assistant, how can we reenact a visit when they can't get here? And so we just created that. I learned how to use Google Slide, which I had no idea how to use prior to COVID. I learned how to use Zoom, which I had no idea how to use. My assistant was great about putting together some of these videos, and it's gone well. I mean, it's something that I went into a little apprehensive because you're wondering if you can keep a kid's attention for 50 minutes, 55 minutes, and make the presentation entertaining enough to where they don't disengage. And so far we've done 7 or 8 of them, and the return's been pretty good. And so like that's something that in a way has kind of leveled things off for us, because I think everybody is obviously in the same position we're in as far as visits and what we can do. And I don't know how many people are doing this. There may be a lot, but I know it gives us an opportunity to maybe get an advantage over some other people that aren't taking the time to put the personalized touch that we're trying to put on these visits. So it's been again, for me, it's made me better. It's made me a better coach, and it's made me a better recruiter, and it's made me think outside the box, which I wouldn't have done had this not have happened.
So speaking of recruiting and those visits, what are some of the things you look for in a recruit when you go out and hit the trail?
Well, I think, I can talk about it, and Coach Wright, you guys can speak in, and Jabbar, everybody here knows. I don't think there's anything different. I think for us, for me, the more as I get older, the more I start to really worry about is character. and in basketball, I mean, character as a person, obviously, but like basketball character, like competitor. Are you a guy who is a good teammate? Are you a guy that's coachable? Are you a guy that when we talk about your season, if it didn't go well, are you bad mouthing the coach? Are you saying something about you? Because if you're saying that about him, you're going to say it about me. Like, because we're all gonna it's gonna come up. Like, and so trying to really see that and figure that out and understand just what kind of teammate are you, and are you somebody who is maximizing yourself, but also are you bringing good out in others, and trying to watch that as much as anything, and trying to learn that through communication and through talks with the player and the parents and the coaches. So obviously talent, everybody looks for talent, but and talent is relative to where you're recruiting to. But it's more than that. It's like, man, the thing I've really thought about recently is people talk about, like, who do you want to win with? And I've been thinking in the last year, now, who do I want to lose with? Because that's the hardest time. Like, winning, everybody's great when you win. We all can go get a pizza or a burger, and we're going to have a good time. There's going to be a couple of guys that are going to be sour out, but for the most part, we're all good. Things are good when we win. You know, but I want to know, who do I want? Like, when we're getting beat and we're on the road and we're driving back and I'm having to eat a crappy meal and we're having to go through some of that sick feeling, who do I want with me? What kind of guys do I want to be around, and what kind of people? Because we're all going to lose. Like, at the end of the day, like, we're fooling ourselves if we don't think we're going to lose. And people think it's kind of backwards thinking, but I think, honestly, it makes coaching more enjoyable, because I think it makes you. I mean, surround yourself with people you want to be surrounded by. I don't want to. I mean, again, the wins are so short term, and at the end of the day, those guys aren't going to help you win anyway. It's like, if you get the guys you want to lose with, you can develop them and get them better, and then you're going to enjoy the experience more, and hopefully you're going to win. You know, hopefully you win more. But if nothing else, when things, it's like in a relationship, whatever you're in, like, when things are bad, who do you want to be around? You don't want to be around somebody that's going to bring you down more. You want to be around somebody that you're going to actually enjoy being around. So I've kind of tried to, me and my assistant try to take that approach of let's find guys who when we lose, we're okay. Like, we're okay being with those guys who we know they're about what we're about, and we're all pulling in the same direction.
That's rich. That's a rich life lesson.
I just think it's made it a little bit. Again, I just think it makes it a little bit for me, because you get in coach, right? You know, I mean, you get so stressed out, wins and losses, man. And losses are so debilitating, and I mean, you feel so alone, and you feel on an island, and you're just miserable, and you don't know. And so, man, let me be around some people that I can at least enjoy seeing them at breakfast the next morning, or going to shoot around the next day, or going to practice. Like, that, to me, makes everything a lot easier and a lot more enjoyable.
That's good.
No, that is true.
Coach, you want to speak on that?
Well, I was always an assistant coach, so Stan's a head coach, so he's a whole different ball game. My position is that you have to go, and whatever your staff puts together, you have to go on what they want, not too much what you want. But most coaches that I work for, they pretty much had what they wanted. It was a hit and miss at times, and it was more about character, like Stan said. But there was a lot of kids that I thought could have played in that position, or could have been at those schools, that went to other schools and did well, where we had kids that we took same way that were supposed to be the ones that do well. And then at the end of the day, you have to chase them around. Those are the ones that you have to go and wake up and get to practice on time, or even that big elephant in the room, make sure you pass the drug test and all those type of things, you know? So I
was actually going to ask you to talk about, since you've been a coach at University of Texas as well as George Washington and TCU, what are some of the reasons that you've seen that players fail while in college? And you kind of just talked about that, but what are some of those things that you see that you would tell a kid that's watching this broadcast to stay away from, or look out for this? What are some of those pitfalls? And Stan, I'll go back to you after coach.
Well, let's put it basketball-wise. I think, like you say, most of them, they have to come. They're not prepared. Physicality is going to take them out first day. They have to have their bodies prepared. They have to have their mind prepared. They have to have some kind of mental toughness means that it's a different practice. you stretch for almost 30, 40 minutes, where kids probably stretch 10 to 5 minutes. That's a different ballgame. You stretch on the college. You have to, there's a lot of things you have to get your body ready for. And a lot of times their bodies breaks down, and then their minds break down. And then a lot of them want to play, and they're used to getting their ways, and they're used to playing a certain amount of minutes. And then when that doesn't take place, then things start to come backwards. Then you get the phone calls. And I mostly had to field those phone calls and talk to those parents and be the buffer. When I was in DC, I used to have to travel to Baltimore, travel up to Philly, and sit in parents' house and talk to them, because these kids were all Americans and they want to know why they're not getting 25 to 30 minutes a game. And when you're on that level, it's everything's it comes with an analogy. You don't play as long as you want. Certain things that you have to do, and there's certain things you have to account yourself for being a college player. And I don't think a lot of kids understand. You really don't want to play 40 minutes a game in college. That's way too much. You have no idea going up and down that court before that first time out, especially if you get in those minutes, where physicality is going to take half of that away from you. So, I mean, there's a lot of things like the mental, have your body right, and then and understand you're going into a new situation. You're not in high school anymore.
That's a really good point, actually, what both of you just made. And I want to send a question to Coach Brandon. So hearing from the college level, I know you're in middle school. Do you think there is a place in your regimen, in your efforts to start on some of those things that the coaches mentioned already? That is there a place for that in middle school? Can you build some of that in your program for middle schoolers and to start them on that path? Is it too soon?
Oh, no. I mean, I'm listening to them and saying, wow, I'm dealing with the same things that I deal with even at a middle school level of, what I look for in a kid. I mean, of course, on my level, I'm not looking as much as at talent as I am as character and heart. And I like what Coach Bonewitz had to say about it, as far as, hey, who do I mind losing with? Who can take an L and come back and work just as hard or harder the next day. So I mean, that's the struggle on my level, because a lot of the time I deal with 7 and 8 graders, and this in the zip code that I serve, it's their first year playing organized sports. So they don't understand the concept of a referee, much less understand the concept of a coach or pulling them in and out the games. So I try to, especially when I talk to parents, I'm telling them a lot of Coach Wright told me, making sure they go into camp, making sure they're playing as much as they can outside of the organized or the organization of it, and just have fun playing the game. Having those times where we do have life lessons. We talking about girls, we talking about drugs, we're talking about all of those distractions once you get to high school and get to college. And we my school at Boston, we have those conversations with kids. And I'm, heads up, thanks to y'all came in some of my first few years coaching and put in programs that kids that are coming back to me 4 and 5 years later, or telling me like, hey man, this stuff right here really worked. How to tie, how to speak and be presentable, how to shake someone's hand and look them in the eye. All those type of things are big at that level, and getting it into our kids, and it translates to how they play. If you're a gentleman off the court, you're going to be a gentleman on the court. If you're a hard worker off the court, you're going to be a hard worker on the court. It's not necessarily you scoring the most points. It's not necessarily you getting the most rebounds or whatever. It's about you playing hard from bell to bell, or from the beginning buzzer to the end buzzer. It's about you playing hard and being coachable. So that's my experience of it.
Indeed, that's good. We're so used to talking and hearing the perspectives of high school coaches, college coaches, and the pros, this is a nice treat to be able to answer some of those questions for parents.
I'm actually very honored to be amongst,
Well, we're honored to have you.
Ignored a lot of the time, middle school coaches.
No, y'all are the fun. That's where the fundamentals begin. So, and you're just as important.
And honestly, like I said, I love the level. I love the development of this level, especially, being a person that has played basketball through high school, through college, and been through all kind of camps and all that, and I've seen fundamentals on all levels, and played against people like Stan Bonewitz, done did those type of things, and be able to take that to an 11 or 12-year-old in the hood, that hasn't been outside of their zip code ever, and try to give them the exposure of where basketball or just working hard will take you. So I mean, you think hard that basketball can take you to college, try working hard in your class, try working hard on all these levels in your life, and watch where you go.
You need it. You're very important because you have to feed that high school down the street. You got to keep sock fed. So trust me, when I was where you were, that's what we did. So we got some city championships in your building. So that's why sock stayed the way they are, because it's 2-3 middle schools. You got to be able to keep us going. So you're very important.
Coach Wright, Brandon is one of the ones, I'm going to give him his credit. I've seen that middle school landscape, if you will. Brandon is one of the few who is actively teaching fundamentals at that level. So he does a really good job with the kids, stressing it. I've even seen Brandon say, I'll lose the game before I sacrifice fundamentals and the life lesson for these kids. And he has such a, I don't think anyone else has a dynamic like him as far as kids and where they come from and their background. Yeah. It's a tough environment over there. Those kids dealing with a lot. So I want to make sure I publicly say, Brandon, man, keep up the good work. Like Coach said, we definitely need you doing what you're doing early on with those kids, because they don't even make it to the high school level without you putting them on the pad.
And I appreciate it, man. Appreciate the encouragement.
So we're going to close with this, guys. Stan, give us your best piece of advice for that young man that's out there watching this broadcast and may want to follow in your footsteps, not only as a player, but also aspiring to play at the college and even beyond.
I think just stay humble. Realize that like for me, I was fortunate to have some opportunities, but I'm also aware that I had some advantages with a dad as a coach and access to a gym and some things that other people didn't have. And so I think, and like Coach Wright said, I understood that I learned the transition from high school to college, that there were better guys. And so I think the biggest thing is stay humble, because humility will keep you working, and it'll keep you excited about being a part of a team, and it will keep you on your toes. It won't let you get comfortable. I think those are all pieces that no matter what level you're going to, there's going to be somebody better. And then there's going to be rare occasions where you're going to have a Kevin Durant was going to go texting me the best player in the country as a freshman. Yeah, but those guys are outliers, man. Those guys aren't normal. They're not regular dudes, man. There's going to be a lot more guys like myself and guys who were good at one level, but man, I had to start right back over when I got to college, and it was hard, it was tough. But fortunately, I had something built in me through work, and that I was able to get through it. But I was also humble enough, and I think be self-aware. I mean, I know it's different levels, but like know who you are, know what your game is, know what you do well, what you don't. Don't let other people shape you. Know what, and be okay with that. Be okay with what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. Because if you're not self-aware, you can't ever maximize your strength and improve your weaknesses, because you're never accepting where you are, and you won't grow. And so I think staying humble through the process of it, and just being self-aware of who you are and what you're doing, and realizing there's areas that you can get better in, and don't let outside noise influence you either way, good or bad, right? Because it can build you up to a level where you're no good, and it'll also take you down to a level where you're in a bad place. So I think I think you can build that again through work and just being okay with what it is that you're doing, and continuing to stay on that path, I think will give you opportunities.
And there you all have it. Listen, I want to say thank you to each of you. And of course, Ty, who had to leave us a little early. This has been really, really good. It's been entertaining, again, to go down memory lane. And this is such a unique setup here. So thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for the insight. We want to wish everybody a healthy shelter-in-place season. And I hope that we all get back to normal sooner than later. But we're better for it. We're better in the later.
Yeah.
So thank
Nope.
you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Guys,
All
thank you
right.
so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it, man. I'm humbled by you guys' presence. Love each and every one of you, man. Keep up the good work. And again, thank you for blessing us with your time today.
Okay, y'all. Blessings to everybody.
Appreciate all y'all. Thank you.
Thank you,
be good.
everybody.
Bye.
Y'all can
Bye-bye.
go ahead and tap out, and we're gonna wrap up here.
Okay. Bye-bye.
After everybody leaves. Thank you. All right, Coach. Great time.
Yeah, that was really good. Really good moment. Again, appreciate those guys. Coach Wright, Stan, B Sharp, Ty Ellis. Thank you guys for your time today. Looking forward to the next one. Got another big broadcast coming up tomorrow. We're going to be discussing load management in youth sports. So we're going to be talking about, is your kid playing too many AAU games? Is he a ticking time bomb as far as an injury is concerned?
No, that's a good one.
Got a great cast coming up to share some few words on that. And then also we're going to dig into one about AAU versus high school ball and the misconceptions between both. So you guys stay tuned, keep tuning in, keep sharing the broadcast, keep washing your hands, keep sheltering in place. And thank you again so much for tuning in. And I'm going to leave you in the hands of our wonderful co-host, Miss Christy.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Okay, well, you all heard it. Again, this is a great episode, and I hope you enjoyed it. We thank everybody for tuning in on Facebook Live and giving your feedback and asking good questions. So again, we always encourage you all to join us, share it later. Please be sure to check out the website, www.theheadsupfoundation.org. You can subscribe and learn more about our organization and our events, which right now everything is on hold. However, we are continuing in this season virtually and doing all that we can. Speaking of which, we do have 2 courses that we are looking to get started in the upcoming week. We just need y'all to get in there and get your registrations completed. So we have a development, sports academy, sports enrichment academy, which is for student athletes. And then we also have a parent college recruiting workshop. Sorry, I got tongue-tied with all of that. So really good events coming up, virtual online courses that we are offering to all of you. One of the biggest questions we always get throughout the year, not throughout a season, but throughout the year is, I wish I had known. I'll need to know. People have so many questions. There's so many conversations. The phone is ringing constantly off the hook. So we're trying to put this all in one place and streamline it for everybody. Put everything in one course so that you all can get all of the nuggets that we have for you. Coach Jabari has so much information to share, and you all have lots of questions to ask. So go to the website. On the homepage, you will see those events that you can register for. All right. That's going to do it for us now, and I'm going to bid you all a farewell. Stay healthy, stay home. Let's flatten the curve. Let's continue to flatten the curve, and you all be great and love on each other, and we will see you next time. Take care. Bye now.